Emily Anderson tucked a strand of unruly blonde hair behind her ear as she stared at the holographic display floating above her desk. The alien characters pulsed with a soft blue light, their patterns shifting in ways that would have given most xenolinguists migraines. But to her 12-year-old mind, they danced with an almost musical rhythm. "Dad," she called out, not taking her eyes off the display. "I think I found something." Colonel Jack Anderson's heavy footsteps echoed through their Montana ranch house. He appeared in the doorway, still wearing his civilian consultant's badge from the nearby military research facility. 20 years of Force Recon had left him with a perpetual alertness that even retirement couldn't shake. "What do you got, kiddo?" Emily's fingers danced through the hologram, pulling apart layers of alien syntax. "The Artaxians don't just use words like we do. See these harmonic patterns?" She pointed to a series of pulsing glyphs. "They're not just decoration. They're emotional markers." Jack leaned closer, his military-trained eyes trying to follow his daughter's explanation. He might not understand the complexities of xenolinguistics, but he recognized the look of breakthrough in his daughter's eyes. It was the same look Rachel, his wife, got when she solved a particularly thorny quantum computing problem. "The universal translators have been treating them like punctuation," Emily continued, her words tumbling out faster with excitement. "But they're actually a whole separate language layer. It's like emoji, but they literally change how their brains process the words." Before Jack could respond, a new voice joined the conversation. "And that's why the Galactic Coalition's diplomatic corps has been having so many communication failures." Dr. Rachel Anderson stood in the doorway, her quantum computing lab coat still on. Her eyes sparkled with maternal pride as she watched their daughter work. Emily nodded vigorously. "Exactly. We've been reading their words, but missing their hearts. Look what happens when I run it through my new algorithm." The holographic display shifted, and suddenly the alien text was overlaid with patterns of color and rhythm that made the meaning crystal clear. What had appeared to be a simple trade agreement now revealed layers of social obligation, hierarchical deference, and cultural expectations. "Holy shit," Jack whispered, then quickly corrected himself. "I mean, holy smokes." Rachel moved to Emily's other side, her scientific mind already racing with implications. "Emily, honey, this isn't just an improvement on existing translation methods. This is a completely new paradigm for interspecies communication. Think we should send it to the Coalition?" Emily asked, trying to sound casual despite the tremor of excitement in her voice. Jack and Rachel exchanged knowing looks over their daughter's head. They'd known this day would come, the day their little girl's genius would catch the attention of powers far beyond Earth. They'd tried to give her a normal childhood, letting her split her time between xenolinguistics and riding horses on their ranch. But some lights couldn't be hidden under a bushel. "I think," Jack said carefully, "that Earth's diplomatic corps needs to see this first. And honey," he placed a gentle hand on her shoulder, "this is the kind of discovery that changes things. Are you ready for that?" Emily looked up at her father, then her mother, her blue eyes shining with a mixture of determination and hope that seemed to belie her young age. "We can't keep treating other species like they're just talking dictionaries, Dad. If humans are going to be part of the galaxy, we need to understand hearts, not just words." Rachel smiled softly. When did our little girl get so wise? None of them could have known then how prophetic Emily's words would prove to be, or how humanity's understanding of alien hearts would be tested in the fires to come. For now, they were simply a family on the brink of change, watching as their daughter's discovery began its journey to the stars. The crystalline spires of Artaxian Prime stretched impossibly high into the violet sky, their surfaces reflecting the light of 3 setting suns. Emily Anderson stood at the window of her diplomatic quarters, recording her daily video message home. "Mom, Dad, you wouldn't believe the architecture here. Everything's grown, not built. The Artaxians say their buildings are actually alive, like giant crystal trees." She paused, fingering the quantum-linked pendant her mother had given her. The cultural exchange ceremony is tomorrow, and a subtle vibration in the crystal wall caught her attention. Emily frowned. After 3 months as Earth's youngest ambassador, she'd learned to trust her instincts about alien behavior patterns. The vibration wasn't random. It carried emotional markers similar to what she'd discovered in their language. Fear, anticipation, hunger. Emily quickly saved her message and pulled up her research terminal. The standard diplomatic feeds showed nothing unusual, but there was something about the crystal's resonance that nagged at her linguistic centers. She began cross-referencing emotional patterns she'd documented since arriving. Computer, overlay all observed Artaxian emotional frequencies from the past week. Focus on non-diplomatic interactions. The holographic display filled with waves of color, each representing different conversations she analyzed. But there, in the background of every recording, was a constant low-frequency pattern she dismissed as architectural harmonics. Cross-reference with historical records, she commanded, her heart beginning to race. Show me emotional patterns from first contact scenarios with other species. The computer hummed. Data streamed across the display. Emily's blood ran cold as she saw it. The same pattern, hidden in hundreds of diplomatic records, always present before a species mysteriously withdrew from the Galactic Coalition. Her fingers flew across the interface, digging deeper. Security protocols crumbled before her linguistic algorithm as she followed the pattern into restricted Artaxian databases. What she found made her stomach lurch. Video logs, hundreds of them, each showing members of different species hooked into crystalline machines, their bodies intact but their eyes empty. The crystals pulsed with familiar patterns, consciousness patterns. The Artaxians weren't just recording emotions. They were harvesting minds. "Oh God," Emily whispered, watching as the crystal walls around her pulsed with that same hungry frequency. "They're not buildings, they're processing centers." Her hands shook as she began downloading evidence to her quantum-encrypted personal device. The logs showed everything. Species after species, declared diplomatically inactive after their best and brightest were harvested, their consciousness used to power the Artaxians' vast neural networks. A new vibration rippled through the walls. Discovery. Alarm. Pursuit. Emily ran, her diplomatic quarters dissolved behind her, the crystalline corridor shifting like liquid glass. She fired off her emergency beacon, knowing her parents would receive it instantly through quantum entanglement. But the Artaxian architecture was already responding, corridors sealing, passages rerouting. "This is Ambassador Emily Anderson," she gasped into her communicator as she ran. "Emergency Protocol 7. The Artaxians' heir." Crystal tendrils erupted from the wall. Emily dove and rolled, thanking God for the self-defense training her father had insisted upon. She scrambled to her feet, but more crystalline appendages burst forth, herding her toward a pulsing chamber. She caught glimpses of other forms trapped in the translucent walls, faces frozen in expressions of surprise or terror, bodies perfectly preserved but empty. The Artaxians' true nature revealed. Not builders, but predators. Not diplomats, but hunters. Emily's quantum pendant burned hot against her chest as it transmitted everything she was seeing. She had one chance. Backing against a wall, she pulled up her linguistic interface one last time. "Mom, Dad, I'm sending you everything. The patterns, the proof. Don't let them." The crystal wall behind her liquefied. As she fell backward, Emily Anderson, Earth's youngest ambassador, did the only thing she could. She screamed. The sound carried more than fear. In it was encrypted everything she'd discovered, broadcast across quantum channels that even the Artaxians couldn't intercept. Her last conscious thought was a fierce hope that it would be enough. She couldn't have known that her scream would awaken something far more terrifying than crystalline predators, something that had slumbered beneath Earth's surface, waiting for just such a moment. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, in a quantum-shielded facility known as Site 0, Emily's scream echoed through systems that hadn't stirred in centuries. Ancient computers powered up, their quantum cores pulsing with recognition of a sound they had been programmed to await, the neural distress signal of a child in mortal danger. Colonel Jack Anderson stood in the Pentagon's crisis room, his knuckles white, as he gripped the edge of the holographic display table. Rachel was beside him, tears streaming down her face as she watched the quantum feed from Emily's pendant loop for the 100th time. "Mr. and Mrs. Anderson," General Hayes began, her voice uncharacteristically gentle. "There's something you need to know about Earth's true defensive capabilities." Before she could continue, every screen in the room flickered. A symbol appeared, an ancient Roman legion standard wrapped in quantum probability waves. A voice, deep and resonant, filled the room. "Protivocivolo legion activated. Defensive parameter. Child protection. INITATIV. Awakening sequence INITAT." Rachel's quantum computing implant suddenly blazed with data. This is impossible," she whispered. "These quantum algorithms are centuries ahead of anything we have. They're operating on principles I've only theorized about." The floor trembled. Across the globe, in hidden bunkers beneath every major military installation, ancient machinery roared to life. In Site Zero, rows of stasis pods began their revival sequence. Each contained a warrior who had volunteered for the ultimate sacrifice, temporal stasis until humanity needed them most. Through quantum-linked displays, they watched as the first pod opened. Steam billowed out as a figure sat up. Colonel Sarah Ghostwalker Martinez, the legendary Special Forces operator who had vanished in 2055 after discovering the first evidence of hostile alien consciousness harvesting. "Status report," she demanded, her voice strong despite centuries of sleep. Technicians scrambled to brief her as more pods opened. A Civil War cavalry officer who had led the first temporal cavalry charge. A World War I codebreaker who had glimpsed patterns in Nazi communications that weren't human. A Vietnam-era Green Beret who had survived alien abduction through sheer force of will. "Sir," a young lieutenant burst into the crisis room. "You need to see this." The holographic display shifted to show military bases worldwide. From each one, figures emerge, warriors out of time, their bodies enhanced with technology that had been refined across centuries of secret development. Each wore armor that shifted like liquid metal, quantum processors humming in harmony with their enhanced neural networks. "The Sleeping Legion," General Hayes explained, "Earth's ultimate contingency plan. Warriors from throughout American history, preserved and enhanced to protect us from exactly this type of threat. They can exist in multiple quantum states simultaneously, making them immune to consciousness harvesting." Jack watched as more legionnaires awakened. Their movements were perfectly coordinated, as if they shared a single mind across quantum space. "How long?" he asked. "How long have we been preparing for this?" "Since the first alien signal was detected," the general replied. "We knew someday they would come for our minds. We just didn't know it would start with your daughter." Rachel's quantum implant suddenly pulsed in sync with the Legion's network. "Jack," she gasped, "the quantum theory I've been working on, it wasn't just research. They were guiding me, preparing humanity's scientific understanding for this moment." At Site Zero, Colonel Martinez stood before her assembled legion. Through quantum entanglement, her words reached every awakened warrior simultaneously. "For centuries we have slept, waiting for the moment when humanity would face its greatest threat. That moment has come. They have taken one of our children, believing us to be a minor species, easily harvested. They are about to learn that humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology, or our weapons, or even our warriors. It's the lengths we will go to protect our own." She turned to face the quantum feed showing Emily's last transmission. "Deploy the Legion. All of it. Show these crystal bastards why you don't hurt our children." Across Earth, the Sleeping Legion moved as one. The hunt had begun, not for glory, not for vengeance, but for a 12-year-old girl who had dared to understand alien hearts. The Artaxian ambassador's crystalline form shimmered with confusion as he faced the emergency session of the Galactic Coalition. "We assure you, the human child's neural patterns have been safely archived. As compensation, we offer Earth 3 seats on our primary council land." The chamber doors burst open. Colonel Jack Anderson strode in, wearing what appeared to be liquid metal armor that rippled with quantum possibilities. Rachel Anderson walked beside him, her quantum implant glowing with calculations that made the Artaxian's crystalline structure vibrate uncomfortably. "Compensation." Jack's voice was deadly quiet. "You think you can compensate us for our daughter?" The alien ambassadors shifted uneasily. They'd never seen human military hardware like this before. Earth was supposed to be a minor power, barely able to achieve interstellar travel. "Perhaps," the Artaxian began, "you don't understand your position. We have processed thousands of species. Your resistance is—" A hologram materialized in the center of the chamber. Colonel Martinez, her quantum-enhanced armor making her appear to exist in multiple places simultaneously, stood before them. "No," she said, her voice resonating across probability waves. "You don't understand yours. Computer, display Legion Arsenal Index." The chamber filled with projections of weapons and technology that made even the most advanced coalition species gasp. Quantum-phased battleships that could exist in multiple dimensions. Time-shifted missiles that struck their targets before they were fired. Neural shields that could protect entire populations from consciousness harvesting. "Impossible," the Artaxian ambassador whispered. "Your species has only had interstellar travel for 50 years. Rachel stepped forward, her quantum implant interfacing with the Legion's network. "Did you really think we would announce ourselves without preparation? That we would step into the galaxy without a way to protect our children?" The holograms shifted to show Legion forces deploying across Earth's solar system. Each warrior moved with impossible precision, their quantum-synchronized minds allowing them to coordinate across vast distances instantly. Vessels emerged from hidden temporal pockets, their designs combining centuries of human military innovation with technology that even the Coalition considered theoretical. "Your neural archives," Martinez continued, "are based on linear consciousness processing. But human consciousness," she gestured, and every Legion member in the chamber phased slightly out of sync with reality, existing in multiple quantum states simultaneously. "We learned to quantize our consciousness centuries ago. That's why you couldn't fully process Emily's mind." The Artaxian's crystalline surface rippled with fear patterns that Emily would have recognized instantly. "The child. She was a test." "No," Jack said firmly. "She was just a brilliant girl who wanted to understand you. And you proved exactly why we kept our true capabilities hidden." Rachel's quantum implant pulsed as she accessed the Legion's deeper archives. "My research wasn't just about quantum computing. I was completing work started generations ago, a way to shield and rescue minds from neural harvesting technology." The chamber erupted in chaos as other species realized the implications. Humanity hadn't just prepared defenses. They'd developed a way to free the harvested consciousness of countless victims. Martinez's hologram grew to fill the chamber. "You have 1 hour to begin releasing all harvested consciousness and surrendering your neural archives. After that," she smiled, and it was not a kind expression, "we'll show you why Earth's children learn about the Spartans, the Marines, and every warrior culture that came before us. We remember our history, especially the parts about what happens to those who threaten our families." The Artaxian ambassador's surface became a chaotic swirl of emergency patterns. You can't. The neural archives are integrated into our civilization's infrastructure. Releasing them would collapse our entire society." 59 minutes, Jack said coldly, checking a quantum-linked display. "And remember, my daughter is watching how you choose to respond. She always believed in understanding alien hearts." His armor pulsed with controlled fury. "Now we'll see what yours are made of." The countdown began, and with it, The galaxy's understanding of humanity underwent a dramatic revision. They weren't just some young species fumbling their way into galactic society. They were the ones the others should have feared all along. Operation Thunderchild began the instant the Artaxians' hour expired. Across 3,000 light-years of space, Legion forces materialized from quantum pocket dimensions, their synchronized consciousness allowing them to strike simultaneously across the Artaxian Empire. Colonel Jack Anderson stood on the bridge of the U.S. Nemesis, a quantum dreadnought that had waited centuries for this moment. The ship's neural interface merged seamlessly with his newly integrated Legion consciousness, letting him experience thousands of battles at once. First wave reporting. Martinez's voice echoed through quantum space. Multiple consciousness processing centers targeted. Remember, precision strikes only. We're here to free minds, not destroy civilizations. Through his enhanced awareness, Jack watched as Legion ships emerged from temporal shifts above Artaxian worlds. Their liquid metal hulls rippled with weapon systems that rendered conventional shields useless. But it was their crews that proved most terrifying to the crystalline empire. Each Legion warrior existed in multiple quantum states, making them living weapons against the Artaxians' consciousness-based technology. When crystal tendrils tried to harvest their minds, they found only quantum echoes, copies that acted as viral programs, corrupting the neural archives from within. Delta Quadrant secured, reported a Civil War cavalry officer, now commanding a squadron of time-shifted strike craft. Their processing centers are going dark. Minimal civilian casualties. Rachel's voice cut through the quantum network from her position in Site Zero. Jack, I'm detecting massive consciousness activity in the Artaxian capital's central spire. Emily's neural pattern is there, but it's fragmented across multiple processing nodes. Coastwalker team, converge on the capital, Jack commanded, feeling the quantum synchronization of hundreds of warriors responding to his will. Rachel, guide us through. Nobody knows their processing architecture better than you. The Nemesis phased through space-time, reappearing above Artaxian Prime. The crystalline city below had transformed into a fortress, its spires bristling with energy weapons. But they were facing an enemy that had spent centuries preparing for this exact scenario. Multiple quantum states engage, Jack announced, his consciousness splitting across parallel possibilities. Initiating Thanatos Protocol. Legion warriors appeared at every critical point in the city simultaneously, their quantum-phased weapons disrupting the very crystalline matrices that made up Artaxian technology. They moved like ghosts through solid crystal, their enhanced minds processing combat scenarios faster than their enemies could react. In orbit, the Nemesis unleashed weapons that bent probability itself. Temporal charges detonated at critical points throughout history, weakening the very foundation of the Artaxian defense grid. Quantum-entangled missiles struck their targets across multiple timelines simultaneously, ensuring no possible variation of events could prevent their success. Their primary consciousness fault is destabilizing, Rachel reported, her quantum implant processing streams of data. Jack, they're trying to move the archived minds deeper into their network. If they succeed. They won't, Jack assured her, directing Legion forces through the quantum network with the precision of a surgeon. Martinez, status on civilian evacuation. 97% of non-military crystals have been cleared, Martinez reported. Minimal structural damage to their civilization centers. This isn't revenge, it's rescue. Through his enhanced perception, Jack could feel the Artaxian Empire reeling. They had never encountered an enemy who could exist in quantum superposition, who could strike through time itself, who had spent centuries preparing counters to their every advantage. But more importantly, they had never faced an enemy fighting for something as precious as a child. Central Spire breached, Jack announced, feeling the quantum ripples of Legion forces converging on their primary target. Beginning final phase of consciousness extraction. The crystalline spire of Artaxian Prime pulsed with desperate energy as its masters realized their doom. They had built their civilization on stolen minds, believing themselves the galaxy's premier consciousness architects. Now they faced warriors who had mastered consciousness itself, who could exist across quantum states and temporal planes, who had turned their very bodies into weapons against neural harvesting. As the Legion closed in on the Central Archives, Jack sent a quantum pulse through their shared network, a father's promise, echoing across dimensions. "Hold on, Emily. We're coming." The Central Consciousness Archive of Artaxian Prime resembled a cathedral built from living crystal and stolen dreams. Jack Anderson led a strike team through its translucent corridors, each warrior's quantum-phased armor allowing them to exist partially out of sync with physical reality. "Rachel, talk to me," he sub-vocalized through their quantum link. "Where's our daughter?" From her command center in Site Zero, Rachel's fingers danced across holographic interfaces. Emily's consciousness is fragmented across multiple processing nodes. The Artaxians, they couldn't handle her complete neural pattern, so they split it. Jack, she fought them. Even as they were taking her mind apart, she fought. Pride and anguish warred in Jack's heart. Through his Legion-enhanced senses, he could see the traces of consciousness energy flowing through the crystalline architecture. Thousands of minds, each one trapped in the Artaxians' living computers. Colonel Martinez, status on the outer perimeter. Holding steady, Martinez's voice echoed through quantum space. "We've got Artaxian reinforcements trying to phase in from their backup facilities, but our temporal charges are keeping them locked out of this time stream. You've got a clear shot at the central processor." The strike team reached a vast chamber where crystalline pillars pulsed with neural energy. Each pillar contained dozens of preserved consciousness patterns, their individual thoughts feeding the Artaxians' vast computational network. There, Rachel's voice cracked with emotion. "Jack, that cluster of pillars showing chaotic energy patterns, that's Emily's signature. Her consciousness was too complex for their standard storage protocols." Jack split his perception across quantum states, existing in multiple possible versions of the rescue simultaneously. In one state, he directed the team's quantum-phased breaching charges. In another, he analyzed the consciousness energy flows. In a third, he prepared the neural containment devices Rachel had designed. "Beginning consciousness extraction," announced Dr. Sarah Chen, a Legion quantum physicist who had volunteered for stasis in 1989 after discovering the first hints of the Artaxian threat. "These patterns are incredible." The girl's mind actually rewrote portions of their neural architecture. The crystal pillars hummed as Legion technology interfaced with them. Through quantum visualization, Jack could see fragments of his daughter's consciousness, bright points of light connected by strings of probability. "Dad?" The whisper came through the quantum network, faint but unmistakable. One of Emily's consciousness fragments had recognized him across quantum space. "I'm here, sweetheart." Jack fought to keep his voice steady. "We're getting you out. All of you. There are so many others." Emily's fragmented voice carried both fear and determination. "Dad, we have to help them. I can feel them all around me. Some have been here for centuries." Rachel's quantum implant pulsed as she processed this information. "Jack, Emily's consciousness is acting as a bridge. She's somehow linked to the other stored minds. If we extract her correctly, we might be able to free them all." The chamber shuddered as Artaxian security systems launched a desperate counterattack. But the Legion had planned for this moment for centuries. Quantum phase warriors appeared at every crucial junction, their enhanced minds moving faster than the crystalline defenders could process. "Beginning primary extraction sequence," Dr. Chen announced. "Emily, if you can hear me, I need you to focus on your family. Think about your strongest memories." Through the quantum network, Jack felt his daughter's consciousness responding. Fragments of memories flickered through shared space, teaching her to ride horses in Montana, Rachel explaining quantum theories over breakfast, family movie nights with popcorn and sci-fi films. The crystal pillars blazed with energy as Emily's consciousness began to reintegrate. But she wasn't just pulling herself together. She was creating a pathway, her unique understanding of alien patterns serving as a blueprint for freeing thousands of trapped minds. "That's it, sweetie," Jack encouraged, existing across multiple quantum states to help guide her home. "Show us the way. Show us how to bring everyone home." In the space between moments, between quantum states and consciousness patterns, a 12-year-old girl who had wanted to understand alien hearts became a beacon for the imprisoned, and the Legion, humanity's sleeping guardians, prepared to finish what they had started centuries ago. Freedom was coming, one consciousness at a time. News of humanity's response spread across the Galactic Coalition's networks at quantum speed. Species that had lost contact with their diplomats centuries ago watched in stunned silence as Legion forces systematically dismantled the greatest technological empire in known space. But it wasn't the military precision that caught their attention. It was the rescue. Another consciousness cluster freed in the Carina sector, reported a Coalition observer. The quantum feed showed Legion vessels surrounding Artaxian processing centers, not to destroy them, but to save those trapped within. In the central spire of Artaxian Prime, Emily Anderson's newly reintegrated consciousness worked alongside Legion quantum specialists. Her unique understanding of alien emotional patterns proved crucial in helping other species transition back to physical form. "Their neural patterns are stable," Emily reported through the quantum network, her voice stronger with each passing hour. "The Dendarians are responding well to the transfer protocols. They remember everything, Dad." Jack watched through quantum-enhanced senses as another group of consciousness patterns flowed into specially prepared biological vessels. The Dendarians had been among the first species harvested by the Artaxians, their entire diplomatic corps absorbed into the neural networks nearly 300 years ago. "Coalition Council is convening an emergency session," Martinez announced, her hologram appearing beside them. "They're starting to realize just how long this has been going on, and how long we've been preparing to stop it." Rachel's voice joined the quantum conference from her position coordinating the global consciousness restoration effort. The Artaxians didn't just take diplomats. They harvested scientists, artists, philosophers, anyone who could help them understand other species better, all to improve their neural processing capabilities. The central chamber hummed with activity as more Legion quantum specialists arrived, each bringing technology that had been refined over centuries of preparation. But it was Emily, still wearing her quantum pendant, who served as the bridge between rescuers and rescued. "The Murith remember their songs," she said softly, helping guide another consciousness cluster through the restoration process. 300 years trapped as processing nodes, and they remember every note. Through the quantum network, they could hear it. Alien melodies carrying 3 centuries of imprisoned hope, finally free to echo across the stars again. Then something unexpected happened. A Calirian battle fleet, long thought extinct, dropped out of quantum space near Artaxian Prime. Their ships, more advanced than anything in the Coalition database, took up defensive positions around Legion vessels. "We felt the song of liberation," the Calirian admiral announced on all frequencies. "Our ancestors spoke of a young species that would one day break the crystal chains. We have waited, hidden, preparing for this moment." They weren't alone. Across the galaxy, species that had retreated from Coalition space, that had gone silent rather than face harvesting, began to emerge. Each had developed their own defenses, their own ways of hiding from the Artaxians. Each had been waiting for someone to strike the first blow. "This is why we kept ourselves hidden," Martinez explained to the gathered Coalition representatives. "Why we let you think Earth was just another minor power. The Artaxians weren't the only ones watching for species approaching technological supremacy." Emily, connected to the quantum network, felt the shift in the galaxy's consciousness. "They're not afraid anymore," she reported, her voice filled with wonder. "All these species, they're sharing their stories through the network. Everything they developed in hiding, everything they learned while waiting." "And that," Rachel added, her quantum implant pulsing with incoming data, "is how humanity truly changes the galaxy. Not through force, but by showing them they're not alone anymore." The Coalition observation feeds captured it all, Legion forces working alongside newly revealed alien allies, sharing centuries of hidden technological developments. The Artaxian neural networks, once tools of imprisonment, transformed into bridges of understanding between species. And at the center of it all, a 12-year-old girl who had wanted to understand alien hearts found herself helping to heal them instead. The galaxy would never be the same, and neither would humanity. 3 months after Operation Thunderchild, Emily Anderson stood before the newly reformed Galactic Coalition Council. The chamber, once dominated by crystalline architecture, had been rebuilt using technology from a dozen formerly hidden species. Living metal flowed alongside quantum circuits, a symbol of the new alliance forming among the stars. The Consciousness Restoration Project has reached 98% completion, Emily reported, her quantum pendant glowing softly. At 13, she remained the youngest speaker ever to address the council, but her eyes held wisdom earned through fire. The remaining 2% are species whose biological forms require special consideration for reintegration. Jack and Rachel watched from their designated seats, pride warring with lingering protectiveness. Their daughter had insisted on staying involved in the restoration effort, using her unique understanding of alien emotional patterns to help the freed consciousness adapt to their return. "And what of the Artaxians?" asked the Calirian ambassador, their crystalline-based biology, making them uniquely qualified to understand the fallen empire's perspective. Emily's response carried the weight of someone who had seen both the worst and best of consciousness interaction. Their society is undergoing fundamental reformation. Without the stolen minds powering their neural networks, they've had to rediscover their own way of processing consciousness. The chamber's quantum displays showed the ongoing transformation. Artaxian cities, once built from imprisoned minds, were being reconstructed using purely crystalline computing. Legion quantum specialists worked alongside Artaxian reformers, helping them develop ethical alternatives to their former technologies. The Sleeping Legion has completed its primary mission, Colonel Martinez announced, her hologram shimmering with quantum possibility waves. But our work isn't finished. Earth proposes the formation of a new organization, the Consciousness Protection Force. Rachel stepped forward, her quantum implant interfacing with the chamber's displays. "We've adapted Legion technology to create a detection network for consciousness-based threats. Never again will a species be able to secretly harvest the minds of others." "And what guarantees do we have?" asked a newly restored Dendarian philosopher. "That humanity won't use this technology for its own agenda." Emily smiled, and in that expression was the same determination that had helped her crack alien emotional patterns all those months ago. "Because we understand now, all of us. It's not about power or technology, or even consciousness itself. It's about hearts." Through the quantum network that now connected the Coalition's members, she shared her experience, the terror of being fragmented, the strength found in helping others recover, the joy of reunion. Every species in the chamber felt it, understood it, recognized the truth that had driven humanity to prepare for centuries. The Legion awakened to save one child, Jack added, his quantum-enhanced armor now bearing the symbols of both Earth and the new Coalition. But what they found was a galaxy full of children waiting to be saved. We won't forget that lesson. The council chamber hummed with agreement as species after species pledged support to the new initiative. The Calirians offered their quantum shielding technology. The Murith shared their consciousness harmonics research. The Dendarians proposed educational exchanges to prevent future exploitation. And through it all, Emily Anderson, the girl who had dared to understand alien hearts, served as a bridge between worlds. Her consciousness, once fragmented by the Artaxians, now helped others piece themselves back together. "There's something else," she announced, her voice carrying across quantum space. "During the restoration process, we discovered patterns, echoes of species even the Artaxians had forgotten. Out there, in the spaces between galaxies, more minds are waiting to be found. More hearts are waiting to be understood. The council erupted in discussion as the implications became clear. Humanity hadn't just awakened its sleeping legion. It had awakened a galaxy's worth of hope. Rachel squeezed Jack's hand as they watched their daughter field questions from dozens of species. Think we should tell her about the deep space quantum signatures the Legion detected. Jack smiled, feeling the weight of centuries of preparation finally lifting. Let her figure it out. After all, he said, watching Emily's eyes shine with the same curiosity that had started this whole journey, understanding hearts is what she does best. The Legion had awakened to save one child. They stayed awake to save them all.